Ever wonder why brides wear white or why they wear veils? Or maybe what the point of the bridesmaids were and why they dress alike? There are tons of wedding traditions you probably dismissed as just being that, traditions. But in fact, many of them stemmed from superstitions. It was hard to stick with just a few for this episode, so we're going to touch on a bunch. For the month of March, I'll be looking at the stories behind common superstitions and symbols of luck. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind wedding luck and superstitions. But first, a quick message. If you're listening to this, you know how awesome you are for listening to podcasts, right? You get to be that friend who starts sentences with, "Hey, I heard on a podcast." 1 out of 5 people listen to podcasts every month. That means while you're the cool one, 4 of your friends, well, aren't as cool as you. But you have the power to help them. Be a good friend and suggest a podcast. For the month of March, hundreds of podcasts from NPR, StuffYouShouldKnow.com, and indie podcasts alike are putting out a challenge to listeners to introduce their friends to podcasts. And as much as I'd love it if you recommended the story behind, it might not be up everyone's alley. But there are plenty of shows to choose from, like the Epic Film Guys or the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews for movie and TV lovers, Everyone Has a Podcast or the Ultra Podcast for those who like comedy and music, Odd Dad Out and Off in the Weeds for those who like funny takes on news and pop culture, Home Gadget Geeks for those who like gadgets and technology, The Endless Knot and Myth Take for those who like history or the humanities. Whatever you decide to suggest to your friends, tweet about it using the hashtag Trypod. That's TRYPOD, as in try a podcast. I'll be using the hashtag all month to talk about some of my favorites as well. I'm going to channel some 90s angry female singing for a bit and start off with why rain on your wedding day is considered lucky. And by the way, Alanis Morissette, it's not ironic, it's a coincidence. But rain on your wedding day was thought to be cleansing of your single life, getting you ready to enter the next stage of your life as married. It's also said to be a sign of fertility. And I haven't gotten a chance to really talk about any of my own superstitions in this series, but for my marriage to my husband, there was a huge storm right before the outdoor ceremony. I really didn't have a plan B, but luckily it cleared up 15 minutes right before, and the rain ended up breaking the crazy heat wave we were having, so our outdoor ceremony and reception was pretty awesome. The act of the groom not seeing the bride the day of the wedding is more of a superstition that came from tradition. It dates back to when arranged marriages were common, and it was thought that it was best to keep the bride and groom from seeing each other before the marriage, in case they changed their minds or refused to marry. The tradition even morphed into the idea that the groom couldn't see the dress as well. And another superstition related to this is the bride shouldn't see herself completely dressed in her wedding attire until the day of. And some brides even leave a bit of the hem to her dress undone the day of her wedding for a bridesmaid to finish sewing it. But not the bride herself, since it's considered bad luck for the bride to make her own dress. The role of the bridesmaids has pretty much always been to help the bride with whatever she may need before and during the wedding. In the days of dowries, if a bride's father didn't approve of the marriage, the bridesmaids would shower the bride with presents to help her transition to her new life as a wife, leading to the tradition of a bridal shower. The bridesmaids used to wear similar dresses to the bride to confuse any evil spirits targeting her, and in Victorian times, it was fashionable to have an all-white wedding, and bridesmaids wore white dresses and short veils, while the bride would wear a more ornate dress and a longer veil. And speaking of the wedding dress, the white wedding dress is actually more of a newer tradition and had nothing to do with the virginity or purity of the bride. Originally, white was associated with mourning, but when Queen Victoria wore a white dress in 1840 for her wedding to Prince Albert, she was considered the trendsetter. But way before that, in ancient Rome, white was associated with joy and used for weddings and Easter. But other colors have been considered lucky for wedding dresses, like silver, blue, pink, and gold. Blue especially, since it's associated with luck, and that's why the adage, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, includes the color. Going back to the tradition of not seeing the bride before the wedding day, The bride's veil is said to keep the full identity of the bride a secret. That, and the groom keeping his back to the bride as she's walking up the aisle. But the bridal veil is also said to protect the bride from evil spirits and, more commonly, the evil eye. The wedding rings hold lots of symbolism for the bride and groom, including the idea that love is never-ending, hence the circular shape. It was the ancient Greeks who popularized the placement of the ring on the fourth finger of the left hand. They believed a vein ran from that finger directly to the heart. To lose the ring or have the ring break was seen as bad luck, and maybe it is considering how much it costs to insure, fix, or replace a ring. Throwing rice at a happy couple was said to wish them fortune, fertility, and prosperity, but the tradition fell out of favor when a rumor popped up that the rice was bad for birds who ate it, even in some cases causing them to explode. But this doesn't have any factual basis. The rumor was said to be started by churches who, in actuality, didn't like the cleanup that resulted from rice being thrown, as well as the dangers of people walking on the rice and possibly slipping. An older tradition, which I'm glad is no more, was the tradition of throwing shoes at a couple. But in the words of Austin Powers, who throws a shoe? Honestly. In case the couple don't have enough well wishes for prosperity and fertility, another source of this good luck is said to come from the cake. Traditionally, it should be made as rich as possible and well made, ensuring both prosperity and a smooth and happy marriage. Feeding one another a piece of the cake is said to symbolize offering themselves to one another. There's no real correlation between smashing the cake in the other's face and good luck, other than maybe winning some money on America's Funniest Home Videos in the 90s, when the playful gesture led to catastrophe. Saving the top tier of the cake or a piece to have on the 1-year anniversary actually began with the tradition of saving that piece for the couple's child's first birthday. But luckily, it's more customary now to give the child a cake of his own. By now, you may have realized the bride was thought to be the most susceptible to evil spirits and bad luck on her wedding day, leading to a number of superstitions we still adhere to, even without questioning them. One more is the tradition of the groom carrying her over the threshold on the wedding night. It was believed that a bride tripping as she entered the couple's home was said to bring bad luck to the marriage. Evil spirits were also said to lurk at the threshold, and a bride's feet were especially vulnerable to intrusion from those spirits. For both these reasons, it became customary for the groom to carry the bride over the threshold into their new home and new life as a married couple. This episode is dedicated to my friend Tracy and her soon-to-be husband Chris, who are getting married in a few short weeks. I have yet to consult Emily Post to see if dedicating a podcast episode is considered a good wedding present, though. Information for this episode was sourced from Snopes.com, Mental Floss, CNN, and more links which can be found in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StoryBehindPod, or subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.